will go live later once we're at sea. So if I can keep this stable connection, I will continue this review, and then I'll go live later just to show general areas of the ship. So we left off where they were arguing. Heather was actually trying to provoke Lisa by buying a Cartier watch, and bought one for Whitney as well. Two $6,000 Cartier watches, but she said they had to buy one, get one at the duty free. So they also, Angie K and Lisa argued about who had a Porsche first. The whole thing was kind of ridiculous. Thank you so much for coming back, Sharon. That was a pretty quick muster that they gave. So Lisa actually is she's one of the head snowflakes on the show. So I don't know why they're always trying to challenge her, but that's what they do. She didn't get as riled up this time. They argued a little bit, but I think what Lisa's going to do is just get something else that none of them have. She said, what I like to do is just sit in the tub and think about unique things. And then Heather's teasing her, baths are Meredith's thing, which is really silly. Anybody could take a bath. Cece, thank you so much for coming in during the live. Good to see you. That's one of our moderators. Thank you. This is a part 2, Cece. I got interrupted with the captain making the muster announcement. So Heather is honestly trying to start an argument, and Meredith says, are you looking to start a fight? She says she's not. Angie K says in a confessional, I don't place value on material things the way that Lisa does. And then she says that to Lisa at dinner. Lisa said, I actually don't. You guys put that on me, but I actually don't. She kind of does, but they do also. They're always in competition with her. So Angie K said, well, did you guys like the food? And the food did look amazing. The view was beautiful. The restaurant was beautiful. They have traveled all the way to Greece. So I'm sorry they had that argument at the table on the first night. I don't think I could be around these ladies. Heather and Whitney are turning into bad weather again. And they love teasing Lisa, which it can be funny if she's in on the joke, but she's not. So they are at the house, which is gorgeous. This is the next day. They come out. They joke about getting the same Prada sandals that Lisa has. Lisa doesn't bite at all. And then Heather's holding a wine bottle, and she starts making a rude gesture with the wine bottle. Heather is on one this whole episode, and I don't understand it. Angie K is saying, this trip has leveled up from the last. We had a lot of complaints about the last trip. Remember episode 1, they were in the RV. So that was something that none of the ladies were too impressed with. And in fact, Lisa didn't even go on that trip. So she's absolutely right. This trip is a huge improvement. It's their international trip, and the location, everything is beautiful. So Whitney and Mary are making fun of Angie K at the beach. Angie K had a cute little bucket hat on. Blue and white were the Greek colors. And Mary's like, let me see that hat. Oh, Angie, I don't know if I like that hat. Angie's kind of insecure because she took the hat off, and I wouldn't have, because she needed it for the sun. They were like, oh, you don't have to take it off. But she did take the hat off. So in a confessional, we get Mary saying, I want to see what shape face you have. She starts telling us about bucket-shaped faces versus oblong, square faces. She said a certain face, if you have a square face, just know you are a dingbat. I don't know where Mary got this from. And Heather starts saying, well, that's better than being a butterface. I don't remember Mary ever calling her butterface, but she did say you look inbred, girl. So that is something I think Heather's holding on to. I happen to agree. Angie K jokingly, they're at lunch again. She says, well, how do you find the men in Greece? The men are really friendly. They're gorgeous. They appear to be flirts. So Heather's saying, I saw someone 20 minutes ago on a flamingo. He was hot. So production flashes back. The guy's waving at them, kind of flirting. And Heather's single. Heather's single now. But Angie takes it upon herself. Bronwyn, are you going to get any numbers here in Greece? I didn't like that. Bronwyn starts playing crazy like, what? Why would I get numbers? Now, one of the other episodes, Bronwyn had confided to Whitney that she and Todd were having problems. He had been caught scrolling through pictures of women, lingerie photos of women on a plane. And she said, I wouldn't mind if it was something that I picked the woman for him and they had some type of open relationship. But she said she was upset and asked him to leave and go to a hotel for a few days. But they're not split up. They've not discussed divorce. They're not in an open marriage, none of that. So it was really inappropriate for Angie K to do that. And she got upset. Yeah, Mary's a mess. Mary says almost anything about these ladies. And then Heather and them were thinking about it too. Like, oh, that's better than a butterface. So Bronwyn takes offense. They start kind of she's going back and forth about it. She says, Todd and I are very happy. I don't know about all that, but I could understand Bronwyn taking offense because it was clear to me when she spoke to Whitney, she was just saying, I asked him to leave home for a couple of days. They were not split up, and then they're not split up as we know now. So Heather gives a confessional speaking about Bronwyn's marriage. She says, oh, she's acting like she's never been involved with an open marriage. She's clutching her pearls. Heather, this is dangerous. I didn't like this. I didn't like it. So Mary is saying to Bronwyn, you can't just pretend that you didn't say something when you did confide this to all of us. I do remember Whitney saying, well, you're not wearing your ring. And then she did bring it up to the group, but she didn't say that she and Todd were getting divorced. Welcome in, Calvin. Thank you so much for joining the live review of Salt Lake City. Thank you. So Meredith actually steps in to defend Bronwyn. She said, with this group, there's actually going to be a problem. They're not going to be able to let it go, and you're going to have to bring it up again. So Heather took Bronwyn by the hand and says, are you happy? Are you happy? I thought this was really manipulative of Heather. I didn't like that. And Mary shouldn't speak on anyone's marriage at all either, because Robert Sr. does not want to be filmed. They respect that. They don't talk about him. So if Bronwyn feels like pulling back a little bit what she shares about her and Todd, I don't really see a problem with it. So Angie K says, well, I'm not standing in judgment. Bronwyn is already defensive. You can stand in judgment if you want. So Whitney does a confessional. What does Bronwyn want us to think? I don't know, Whitney. What do you want us to think about Justin and your business, the bad business practices that had your business go out of business? So Bronwyn needs to learn how to defend herself against these ladies when they go past her boundaries, because they could tell she was uncomfortable. And with the exception of Meredith, also Lisa didn't weigh in. They kind of kept digging, and I didn't care for that. Hi, Glowberry, welcome in. So I think they deliberately misunderstood Bronwyn and Todd. So they tried to pull Lisa in. Angie said, is Lisa, are you going to hook up with a man in Greece? Lisa says, John is a Russian, German, Jewish man, and I am satisfied with that. So I said, that's right. Teach Bronwyn how to do that. So that whole conversation, it wasn't cute. It was kind of disgraceful. Yeah, Mary should have stayed out of that conversation. She gets a lot of grace and a lot of privacy, and she might want to keep it that way because she doesn't want them to start going back the things they used to say about her season 1. So Angie K gives them, in an hour, please everybody be ready for dinner. We know this is an issue with Lisa because Lisa always has her glam. Lisa says she has her glam everywhere they go, and that's just a standard for her. So Heather and Whitney are overheard saying, I don't know if we'll have time to take a shower and get ready. Y'all, I said, y'all funky tails better get in the tub or the shower or something. I don't know what they're talking about. Heather knocks on Mary's door. She did have time to get dressed. Let's hope she showered. She says, I don't know what's going on with me and Meredith, but Meredith's been kind of cold. Mary doesn't really want to be a part of it, but Mary's the one that everybody confides in. I did like when Mary said, tell Meredith that. Say that to her face. Because Heather likes to go have these different conversations among people, and that's just not good. Thank you so much, CC, saying like the live and subscribe. Sharon is laughing. Yeah, did you see that conversation? You've traveled all those hours. You've been out in the sun. You've been out in the dark, and now you're having dinner, and now you're talking about you don't know whether or not you got time to change and shower. Just take a quick both. So Mary's telling her, say that to her face. And then we find out Meredith says she has reached out a few times to Heather for a private conversation, and she feels like Heather wants an audience. I do too. I feel like Heather wants the whole group, you know how they all start putting into what the ladies are talking about. And I don't think that that's appropriate in this case. So Whitney and Brittany are walking down the street. Heather's with them along the side of a Greek road, and there's kind of like a ditch and everything. And it was funny. Heather says, watch out, because there's a huge step here. As soon as she said that, Whitney tumbled. She fell down. And Brittany was like, oh, my God, are you all right? You almost rolled down the hill. And this man helps her up. And she said, oh, my Prince Charming picked me up. But that was kind of dangerous. They were walking along the side of the road. So Heather says in a confessional, I would hate to be crippled with the insecurity that Lisa has, because Lisa said, I'm not going to be ready in an hour. And Lisa stayed back with her glam. So as they were leaving, Angie K's like, Lisa's not ready yet. Lisa's like, bye. And then Lisa she takes a picture of them and production shows us the picture. It was a cute shot. So she was talking to the lady. Oh, she's from Athens. I love her. She was talking to her makeup artist. And I don't know why it bothered them. I mean, it would be nice if everybody left at the same time, but she said, I'll meet you there. She didn't try to get them to wait for her or anything. So I thought that was okay. The ladies are struck by how gorgeous the view is. Whitney actually starts crying, and it was really beautiful. Angie K does a confessional. She says, Heather is the type of friend I really want to take on a trip because she appreciates things. That's what I wanted for Lisa. I don't know why they're so fixated on Lisa. Lisa's ears are ringing. So Mary asks Meredith again. Now, Mary's the go-between before this Meredith and Heather situation. She says, Meredith, how are things going with you and Heather? Meredith says, I try to talk to her. She doesn't really want to talk, but I'll keep trying. Maybe she's moved on. And then I thought it was really sweet. They were in a store and Meredith ends up buying a beautiful necklace for Heather that she's going to give her at dinner. The scenery is breathtaking. I said Greece, it's Santorini, Greece. It's the pictures that when they show Greece, they will show Santorini. It looks like postcard. The views, the Aegean Sea, everything. It's just gorgeous. So Lisa catches up with them and they seem kind of disappointed. Like, how did you know we were here? She's like, I got my 10,000 steps in. I was walking all over the place. And they said, did you catch the sunset? She said, yeah, I caught the sunset. And Whitney says, let me see. Lisa had actual pictures of the sunset. So I don't know why they didn't believe her, but they seemed kind of disappointed. So in a confessional, Lisa says, I got to shop. I was on my own time. I didn't have any negativity. I found a Birkin store and got some stuff. So she seemed like she's enjoying her trip. Whitney and Lisa are talking about the sunset. All of them are talking about the views. I agree with Sharon that the scenery is breathtaking. And then Lisa says, well, I made it into my screensaver. And she showed it to Heather and Angie K. So they were kind of upset about that. That was so weird. Then we get a scene where Heather and Angie K are walking behind Lisa, hand in hand, talking about her, which was crazy. And Angie K says, and who does she think she is? Showing up late in shades because it was already nighttime. So at dinner, they get to their dinner. Meredith gives Heather the necklace. Heather says, this is a beautiful necklace, but y'all, she starts complaining. Angie K said something to Lisa, and Lisa said, another thing about Greece, there's a lot of huge mosquitoes here, and I would like to just slap one. She was talking about Angie K. So Mary asked again, y'all. I don't know if production is asking, but Mary asked again, Heather and Meredith, how are you guys? Are you guys okay? You should talk. Heather says, I love my necklace, but when you gave it to me, Brown was saying it's a peace offering. Meredith says, accept it or not. Meredith is kind of tired of it at this point. Heather says, I'm not rejecting it. Heather, you lying. You get ready to come up with something to complain. I'm tired of Heather. I'm with Sharon. I'm sick of Heather. So Heather lies. I'm not rejecting it. Meredith says, I don't want to have the conversation in a group. And then Heather says that Meredith assassinated her character. Meredith says, I didn't assassinate your character. She said, you did. You questioned my loyalty. Heather is yelling for some reason, and Meredith is quietly saying, well, I was hurt. Heather says, I was hurt too. Lisa says, you can't hold someone to these standards that you don't even live up to yourself. Then we get a confessional with Lisa saying, why is Heather the only one allowed to have these big feelings and Meredith is not allowed to, which I happen to agree. Whitney interrupts and says, let her speak for herself. Why are you speaking for her? Now, Whitney a lot of times interrupts to speak for people, but she's trying to help Heather out because they thought they were going to gang up on Meredith, but Lisa jumped in and started making sense, and Meredith is sitting there very quietly. So things didn't turn out the way bad weather wanted it to. Brownwood and Whitney are looking intently, waiting for this fight to finish. So Mary is sitting there. She's quiet now that she brought this up. I don't like all of this group conversation when whatever the situation is will involve one or two people. Now, this stemmed from the airplane fight, and it was actually Brittany. Brittany gets a confessional and says, I'm actually over this, but I do feel like Meredith owes Heather and Whitney an apology. That doesn't make any sense. You can't outsource an apology. This is just crazy. So Heather is saying, Meredith has selective outrage. Much worse things have happened. They're talking about this hot mic moment when Lisa talked about Meredith, Seth, the kids like a dog, said Meredith was sleeping all over New York. They were phonies. They're renting, all this stuff. But Meredith forgave Lisa and they are friends again. So I don't know why they want her to still be mad. So she's clearly upset that Meredith and Lisa have moved on. That's Heather. And I think Whitney's upset about it too. Meredith quietly says, I just don't agree with you. So Heather yells, oh, how's this flipping on me now? How's this flipping out on me? And then Meredith says, well, you have had situations where you mistreated me. Heather wants examples. Production shows the yacht where Heather was lecturing Meredith. She was lecturing Lisa. So production is not treating Heather like their little pet anymore. I'm interested to see the reunion. We're in episode 13. We'll probably have another maybe 5 more or so. I want to see what happens with Heather Gay at this reunion. They already have the seating chart. Bronwyn is first chair, and also Lisa is still first chair. So Heather's not the pet anymore. Lisa is still talking about when the group all gangs up on each other. She says, you turn your back on your friends. Don't turn your back on your friends. Lisa started crying. She said, and I felt like you were doing that for show. So the camera pans on Whitney. Her mouth is hanging open. She and Heather had that thing where they're like, their mouth is hanging open. So bad weather is self-destruction. They're self-destructing. Whitney's making a cry face. I'm watching my friends fight right now, and I think it's over Meredith's treatment of Brittany on the plane. And then she says, I don't think that anyone's the problem. You're the problem. Yeah, the reunion should be good. I'm looking forward to it. Because honestly, after the first few episodes and midway through, it's kind of fallen off a little bit. This was a good one because it's their international trip, the scenery, and then, of course, they have these few little arguments they're getting into, but they have kind of fallen off a little bit with the Betsy Ross flag party and this kind of foolishness. I don't like that silly stuff. So now at this dinner, bad weather or Heather and Whitney were trying to attack Meredith. Meredith was being very calm. Lisa got involved. And we get a confessional with Brittany saying that she did move on, but now she wants an apology for the other ladies. So that whole thing is just crazy. That is where the episode ends. That's where the episode ends, everybody. So it was a pretty good episode. Like I said, the international trip, the trips are always my favorite. Just seeing Greece, looking at Santorini, I loved it. Watching Heather get herself kind of looking stupid after she tried to produce this scene. It didn't turn out like she wanted it to. Whitney tried to help her. That didn't turn out either. So I did love that. And anybody who joined, I do apologize for I had to stop it and then start again. So there's going to be a part 1 and a part 2 because I won't be able to meld them together. Cece is telling Sharon, I wish they'd coordinate their reunion looks. I hope they do. Maybe they'll all have a colored theme or something like that. That would make more sense than everybody trying to do whatever they want to do, especially Bronwyn. You know she's going to go over the top. And now that she's first chair and she considers herself the fashionista on the show, it could be kind of chaotic if they don't have some type theme. You give it an 8 just for the scenery. Yeah, I'll give the episode an 8 too. This was a pretty good episode, but the fact that it was the Greek trip played a lot into it. But this was pretty good. Hopefully it gets better. Yeah, Replay Gang, please like the video, leave a comment, hype the video. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate you joining Sandra Peace Gen Extra. I will join you later. I'm going to just walk around the ship where people start to settle in and then just show you more views of the beautiful Carnival Firenze. Thank you. Be blessed, everyone. Thank you, CC. You as well. Goodbye. I'll see you in the YouTube streets.